So now we come to the part of the Joseph story that really reads kind of like a soap opera. His brothers have sold him into slavery. Eventually, he gets sold to a man named Potiphar. He is a faithful servant to Potiphar who elevates him in his household. And then Potiphar's wife tries to seduce Joseph. The important thing here is that at every step of the way, Joseph continues to work hard, that even though things seem lined against him, he has that work ethic and the integrity. He could have easily just allowed himself to be seduced by Potiphar's wife, and if he had never been found out, she might have rewarded him better, but his integrity prevented him from falling for her tricks. You can tell in this story as well that Potiphar does not 100% believe his wife, because he would have had him killed, but he does not. Instead, he has him jailed. And in jail, the Pharaoh has two servants who are a baker and a wine taster, who are both in jail with him. And Joseph interprets their dreams. Better yet, God gives Joseph the interpretation of those dreams. When those dreams, interpretations come true, eventually Joseph's brought before Pharaoh to interpret Pharaoh's dreams. He goes from on the rise to Potiphar's household to being back into jail. You see this pattern, right? He's lifted up in the family. He's brought down into slavery. He's lifted up in Potiphar's house. He's brought down into the dungeon. And now he's lifted back before Pharaoh to interpret the dreams. But here we're going to catch a fundamental element of the Joseph story. He's brought before Pharaoh as the dream interpreter, and yet this is his response to Pharaoh. It is not me. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer. It is too easy for us to take credit where God has worked. And we need to remind ourselves, as Joseph did, that it is important that we make sure God gets credit for what he has done in our lives. I try desperately not to say, look what I have accomplished, because I recognize my need for God's presence in my life, that apart from God, I am nothing. This is actually a concept that Jesus will share in the Gospel of John. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that stays in me and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. Jesus wants us as Christians to understand our value, our strength. Everything about us has to come with our connection to the vine. If Joseph was not connected to God, he would not have been able to interpret the dreams, and the promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob would fall flat. But Joseph maintained that connection and did not allow his own selfishness to block it, just as we as Christians need to maintain that connection, to remind ourselves, I need to be connected intimately with Christ. And if I am connected to the vine, then I can bear much fruit. But it's not about me. It's about that connection. And apart from that connection, we can't do anything. My concern as the church moves forward in this new era of a pandemic is it's so easy to lose that connection and to not realize that we've lost that connection. How easy would it have been for Joseph to be like, that's right, I can interpret these dreams. I've done it in the past. And I feel like had he done that, God would have walked away. But instead, Joseph reminded himself, through the ups and through the downs, God's presence was there with him. And we need to remind ourselves none of this is possible without God, and we need that connection. And if I'm connected to the vine, and you're connected to the vine, then we are connected together. And that is where the church should have its strength. Not just our connection to each other, but our connection to the vine. Recognizing that it's the power of God within us that enables us to do anything. I hope what we learn from the Joseph story is keep that connection. Trust that as we are connected to God, we can do wonderful things for His glory. Would you pray with me? Father, oh Lord, it is so easy to get disconnected, to be distracted by all the things life can bring us. It is so easy, Father, to not even realize we've lost that connection. And yet, Father, you remind us that it's only as a part of you that we can do anything. So, Father, help us to connect to you on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minutely basis, Father. That as the people who are connected to the vine, we will be connected to each other, and that we will bear much fruit for your glory. And it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. So remember to stay physically separate, but please stay connected. And let us love everybody.